Have you ever felt you already give your dog the whole world? You feed on Time Walk daily, bring home new toys. Perfect, right? Yet the smallest, quietest moments touch a dog's heart more deeply than any toy. And only 2% of dog owners actually do them. Most of us measure love by feeding, protecting, and giving the very best we can. But real love often arrives without command, without control. You simply show up at the exact moment their heart reaches for you. I thought I understood my dog until I found him curled at the door, tucked into an old shirt I'd left in the laundry basket. He lay there for hours, silent eyes half closed, cradling the fading warmth and scent of me. That's when I knew I'd missed so many chances to make him feel loved, understood, truly seen by me. In this video, I'll share 12 quiet things dogs adore, often overlooked by loving owners. They're tiny gestures with the power to heal the quiet loneliness that hides inside the love we think is enough. If you truly love your dog, stay to the end. Number 5 may bring tears. If this opens something new in you, subscribe, so you won't miss the next heartwarming moment you two can share. So let's begin the simple daily joy every dog longs for, yet most of us miss. For dogs, the world isn't seen, it's smelled. 1. Let them sniff until their nose is full of stories. To a dog, the world isn't seen, it's remembered through scent. Each patch of grass, each crack in the sidewalk, each tree trunk is a letter in a long handwritten diary left behind by every paw that came before. That old mailbox down the street, it's a love letter from a golden retriever that passed by last spring. That fire hydrant, it holds secrets from 3 different chihuahuas and a terrier with a limp. But we hurry. We tug the leash. We sigh and glance at our watches. We say, "Come on, let's go," while their nose is still mid-sentence in a story they may never finish. I used to think a walk was a favor I gave my dog. Fresh air, a quick break, a daily chore. But then I noticed he wasn't walking. He was reading, pausing, translating the world with every breath. And more than anything, he wished I would walk slower. Not behind him, not ahead, but with him. So now I let him lead. I don't pull. I don't rush. And when he plants his paws beside a fence post, like it's a chapter he's been waiting to reread, I pause too. Because for a dog, sniffing isn't wasting time, it's making meaning. And letting him sniff until his nose is full might just be the kindest conversation I've never spoken. And yet, while their nose may guide them through the world, there's something else they seek on that walk, something far more rare than a scent. Your presence. 2. Walk beside them without carrying the world in your hands. There's a difference between walking with your dog and simply moving your feet next to theirs. Most days our hands are full, not with leashes or treats, but with thoughts, screens, notifications. The invisible weight of 100 things pulling us away from the one soul walking silently beside us. I used to walk with one hand on the leash, the other gripping my phone. Eyes down, mind elsewhere. I thought I was multitasking, but really, I was missing. Because while I scrolled through a world that didn't need me, he kept glancing up, hoping I'd notice his world. The tilt of his head, the wag that paused mid-air, the way he slowed his steps to match mine, and waited. Dogs never ask for attention the way people do. They ask with silence. They beg with presence. And when we're too lost in our screens, we miss the only question that really mattered that day. Were you really there with me? Now I leave the phone behind. I walk like the road has no endpoint. I listen not to a podcast, but to the rhythm of his paws on gravel, the way he breathes when he's calm, the way his ears twitch when the wind brings a familiar memory. Because sometimes the greatest gift isn't what you bring to the walk, it's what you leave behind to be there. And when you do, you'll notice something subtle. The way he leans a little closer, not because you called him, but because he felt you come back. And still, for dogs, feeling your presence is only part of what they need. What touches them even deeper is hearing their name spoken not with commands, but with no reason at all. 3. Say their name, even when they're not doing anything at all. We forget sometimes how powerful a name can be. To us, it's a word, routine, habit, a way to call them in, a tool to train. But to a dog, their name is home. It's the sound that rises above the static of the world and says, "You belong here." I remember one quiet morning, no errands, no rush. He was lying by the window, head resting on his paw, watching the light crawl slowly across the floorboards. I whispered his name, not because I needed him not to call him away, but just because I wanted to remind him he was mine. His ear twitched, and then his tail. Then his eyes lifted with that soft, slow spark that only comes when joy surprises you gently. And in that moment I realized dogs don't just respond to their names, they feel them. Like a familiar song you didn't know you missed until someone hummed the melody. So now I say his name like a prayer. Sometimes low, almost silly. Sometimes warm like morning sunlight. Just a whisper across the room, like tossing a blanket of love across his back. Because, for them, being remembered is a form of being loved. And sometimes, the softest I see you is hidden in the most ordinary sound. And as his name fades into the room like a ribbon of comfort, he settles again, not because I gave him a command, but because I gave him presence. But names are only one part of how dogs recognize love. The other is where your scent lingers, even when you're no longer in the room. 4. Leave behind something that smells like you. There's a silence in the house when you leave. You don't hear it, but he does. It's not the silence of footsteps fading, or doors clicking shut. It's the silence of your scent beginning to thin in the air, the echo of you beginning to disappear. To a dog, your scent is a story written on everything you touch. The couch cushion, the side of the bed, that old shirt you tossed near the laundry, and when you're gone, what he clings to is not your voice or your footsteps, but your smell. I once forgot a worn-out flannel on the rug near the door. It had holes in the sleeve coffee stains from a month before. Not worth keeping. But when I came home, he was curled into it, nose buried, deep eyes, half-closed chest rising in slow, grateful rhythm. Like that scrap of cotton was the only thing keeping him from floating into loneliness. And science tells us what his body already knew. Studies show that a dog's emotional response shifts when exposed to the familiar scent of someone they love. Their heart rate steadies, their muscles soften. The absence becomes less frightening. So now, when I leave, even if it's just for a little while, I offer something small, a shirt I wore, a blanket I used, not with words, not with promises, but with a silent vow I'll be back. And he curls into it like a child holding on to the hem of someone they trust, falling asleep not in fear, but in the scent of love. But while scent helps a dog feel safe in your absence, it's your eyes, the soft, steady gaze of someone who truly sees them, that reminds them they belong, even when you're near. 5. Look them in the eyes and stay there, a little longer. There's a moment, quiet and rare, when your eyes meet theirs not by accident, not in passing, but on purpose. And in that stillness, something ancient happens. A tether invisible pulls two souls closer than skin ever could. Dogs don't stare the way humans do. They don't challenge, don't analyze. They simply see. And when they trust you, they invite you to look back. I used to glance at him without really looking. A quick smile, a nod, then back to whatever needed my hands. But one evening, as the light outside faded into that soft blue before dusk, I caught his gaze, calm, steady, waiting. No tail wag, no bark, just eyes wide and open like a doorway to something sacred. So I stayed. I didn't speak. I didn't move. I just looked, and in return he didn't flinch. He didn't look away. He leaned closer, as if to say, "Yes, stay here. This is where we meet." And it turns out, science has a name for that moment. Researchers call it interspecies gaze-mediated bonding. A fancy way of saying when you look at your dog with soft eyes, their brain releases oxytocin, the same hormone mothers feel when holding their babies. But no research could prepare me for the way his breathing slowed, or how he placed his paw ever so gently over mine. That was not science. That was trust. That was love, returning without words. So now every day I give him a look, not to check on him, not to assess, but just to say, "You matter. You're safe. I see you." And when our eyes meet in that silent space between thought and feeling, something unspoken passes between us, like a whisper that only the heart can hear. But as powerful as a look can be, dogs also thrive on action, especially when those actions are small and chosen by them. 6. Let them choose, even when the choice seems small. We spend so much time choosing for our dogs, their food, their leash, their toys, their bed. All with love, of course, all with care. But in that constant giving, we forget what it feels like to be given a choice. Imagine someone picking your clothes every day, your meals, even your moments of joy. Not out of cruelty, but concern. Not neglect, but habit. And still it would wear on you, wouldn't it? Dogs feel it too. That quiet craving for a say in their own day. One afternoon I laid out 3 toys on the floor, an old squeaky duck, a tennis ball fraying at the seams, and a knotted rope we used to tug during long winters. I didn't toss one. I didn't prompt. I just sat back and waited. He sniffed them all, paused, then nudged the duck with his nose like an artist choosing his brush. And in that small decision, his tail began to wag, not fast, not wild, but in that content certain way that says, "You heard me." Letting your dog choose isn't about indulgence. It's about respect. It's about saying, "You have a voice, and I trust it." And when they get to choose, even just a toy, they don't just feel happy. They feel seen. So now sometimes before a walk, I hold out 2 leashes, red or blue. And when his nose touches one, we go with it. It's a ritual, a rhythm, a tiny freedom in a world where we hold the keys to almost everything they experience. And each time he chooses, his eyes light up, like he just remembered something about himself he didn't know he'd forgotten. But giving space isn't just about offering choices. It's also about stepping back quietly when they need to be alone. 7. Give them space. Even when you want to hold them closer, there's a kind of love that knows when to step back. We often think loving our dog means being near always, touching, stroking, speaking. But some moments call for a different kind of tenderness, the kind that gives space without making it feel like absence. I used to think he needed me every minute, that being a good companion meant never letting him out of reach. But then I watched him one quiet afternoon wander to the far corner of the room. No sound, no signal. Just a slow retreat, like a man folding into his own thoughts. He lay down with his back to the world, not in sadness, not in fear, but in peace. And for the first time, I didn't follow. I didn't kneel beside him. I just let him be. That was the moment I realized dogs like us need their silence. A soft, uninterrupted place where the world doesn't touch them, where no hands reach, where no voice calls, just stillness and breath. And it's in those spaces, corners of rooms, patches of sunlight, quiet shadows under old tables that they recharge, that they reset, that they feel safe to be entirely themselves without having to please or perform. So now I keep a cushion by the window. No toys, no noise. Just a place that belongs only to him. And when he goes there, I stay where I am, not because I don't care, but because I do. Because love isn't always a presence that fills a room. Sometimes, it's the quiet that honors their need to leave it. But the true test of trust isn't in the quiet moments, it's in the ones when you must leave. And how you say goodbye. 8. Say goodbye, even if you'll only be gone a little while. We often think slipping out the door unnoticed is a kindness, that if we don't make a fuss, they won't feel the loss. So we grab our keys quietly. We hush our steps. We disappear. But dogs, they notice everything. The shift in your breath, the click of the lock, the moment your energy leaves the room even before your body does. I used to sneak out thinking I was sparing him the pain. No goodbye, no farewell, just gone. But every time I returned, I'd find him at the door, not eager, anxious, as if he had been holding his breath the entire time, waiting for the silence to break. One day I paused. Just a second. I knelt down, placed my hand on his head and whispered, "I'll be back soon, okay?" Nothing grand, just a promise wrapped in warmth. And something shifted. His body relaxed. His ears softened. His eyes blinked slowly, as if the uncertainty had been replaced by trust. Turns out dogs don't need elaborate gestures. They just need closure, a ritual, a signal that your absence has a beginning and an end. So now I never leave without saying something. A touch, a look, a word that means I'm going, but I always return. Because to a dog, being left behind isn't what hurts most. It's being left behind without knowing why. And once you learn to say goodbye gently, you'll begin to see how much peace it plants in the hours you're gone. But sometimes, despite the best goodbyes, your dog still feels tense, unsure, a little off. That's when they need something even deeper, your touch. In the places their mother once used to calm them. 9. Touch the places their mother once did. Not all love is loud. Some of it is pressed gently into skin, held in still fingers, resting just long enough to say, "You're safe." There are days when your dog seems fine, but not fully. Tail still, ears low, breathing short. Like the world's just a bit too much today, but they're trying to be brave for you. And on those days, I don't reach for the leash or the treat jar. I reach for his neck, right behind the ears, that soft place where the fur is warmer, where his pulse hides. I slide my fingers there and just stay. No rubbing, no patting, just the weight of my hand, slow and sure. Because when a mother dog wants to calm her pups, she doesn't bark or pace. She licks the back of their head, nuzzles the base of their neck. It's instinct, it's memory. And your dog still remembers that language. Science calls these areas calming spots, regions tied to sensory memory and security. But I don't need a study to know it works. I see it in how his shoulders drop, how the breath in his chest deepens, how his eyes, so alert a moment ago, begin to blink slowly like curtains falling. And for a minute, the world grows quiet again. So when the day feels heavy, and he can't quite tell you why, Remember, your hands carry more than touch. They carry memory. They carry meaning. They carry the ghost of a mother he once knew, and now finds again in you. But sometimes the most healing thing you can offer isn't even your touch. It's your presence stretched beside him, saying nothing at all. 10. Lie beside them and say nothing at all. Not every moment with your dog needs a purpose. Not every second must be filled with tricks, commands, praise. Sometimes the most sacred gift you can offer is nothing. Just space. Just stillness. Just breath. I remember one late afternoon, the kind where the sun has no intention of rushing down. He wandered into the yard, found his spot under the old oak tree, and lay down with a sigh that seemed older than his years. And something in me paused. I followed not as a master, not even as a friend, but as a being who simply wanted to be near. I didn't pet him. I didn't speak. I just lay beside him, shoulder to shoulder, letting the grass press into my back. The breeze tickled the edges of our ears. We watched the sky, watched a leaf tumble, watched nothing, really. But in that nothingness, something shifted. Our breathing found rhythm. Our hearts, though different in species, beat in quiet harmony. There were no words, no gestures, just a moment so gently complete it didn't need anything else. Because presence doesn't always look like action. Sometimes it's just being there without needing to change a thing. And in that shared silence I realized, this isn't my dog. He's my equal, my mirror, my steady sky. And sometimes love means knowing when not to fill the silence. But there will be moments when your dog does seek you, not with bark or leap, but with a soft lean, a resting head. A quiet ask to be held only if you're ready to listen. 11. Let them come to you and be ready when they do. Not all connection is loud. Sometimes love tiptoes. There are days your dog won't seek you out. He'll sit across the room, ears tilted, eyes quiet. Not afraid. Not angry. Just elsewhere. Like his spirit has wandered to some old memory, or maybe to a place where he's sorting through feelings he can't explain. And your instinct might be to go to him, to fix it, to fill the space. But love, real love, knows how to wait. One evening, after a long, unsettled day, I sat on the floor beside the couch, tired, unsure, just there. He stayed distant at first, watching, breathing. Then slowly, like a tide returning home, he stood, walked over, and rested his head on my knee. No sound, no tail wag, just the weight of his trust, warm and still. I placed my hand gently along his back fingers, tracing the same fur I'd touched 1,000 times before, but this time slower, more honest. And in that silence I whispered nothing, yet said everything. Because when a dog chooses closeness, it isn't random. It's a surrender, a reaching out, a sacred little now. And if we're too busy, too distracted, too quick to control, we miss it. So now I let him come when he's ready. I don't rush the moment. I just leave space for it. Like setting a chair for someone you hope will visit. And when he does, when he leans in, looks up, exhales, it's like our hearts find the same breath again. But even in the deepest closeness, dogs crave something else. The sound of their own name spoken not as command, but as a song that says, I remember you. You matter here. 12. Say their name just because you can. A name is more than a label. It's a thread, a note in a melody only two hearts know how to hum together. When you say your dog's name, something happens not in their ears, but in their chest. It stirs the air around them like a familiar breeze that only blows when you're near. I used to call his name only when I needed something. Come here. Let's go. Sit. like his name was a button that triggered obedience. And it worked, but it never sang. Then one morning, as he lay sprawled across the rug, breathing slow and steady in a patch of light, I simply whispered his name. No command, no reason, just his name, soft like a lullaby. And his ear twitched. His tail fluttered once. He didn't move much, but his eyes opened and they shone. Not because I asked for him, but because I remembered him. Since then, I say his name like a secret between us, sometimes drawn out with a silly tone, sometimes low like a drum beat between friends. It's become a ritual, a quiet affirmation that he's still mine and I'm still his. Because for a dog, being known is more precious than being praised. And when you say their name with love, just because it wraps around them like a blanket in winter, it tells them you are not forgotten, you are never invisible, you are home. And that's all they ever really want to know. But sometimes, even when everything feels right, there are things happening deep inside their body that no eye can see. And the truest act of love is not waiting for the pain to show before you begin to care. He's not limping, not whining, not refusing food. On the surface, he seems fine. But dogs, especially the loyal ones, hide pain well. They don't want to worry you. They don't know how to say, something's wrong. They just adjust. They shift their weight. They sleep a little more. They blink a little slower. And we busy loving them in the ways we know how might miss it. Until it's loud. Until it's too late. I once waited. He seemed okay. A little slower, yes, but still smiling. Still following me from room to room like a shadow stitched to my heel. And then one day, his body told the truth I hadn't asked to hear. We caught it in time. Barely. And the vet said, if you hadn't brought him in now. That sentence never finished. I didn't let it. So now I take him in for checkups, even when he seems fine. Especially when he seems fine. Not because I'm afraid, but because I love him enough not to wait. Because love isn't just presence. It's prevention. It's not only being there when they need you, but being there before they do. So take him in. Ask the questions. Let someone listen to the parts you can't hear. It's not overprotective. It's not silly. It's love in its quietest, wisest form. And maybe, just maybe, that small decision could give you one more autumn walk, one more winter nap, one more glance from the bed as his breathing slows into dreams. Because in the end, all these little things we've talked about, every choice, every whisper, every moment of stillness, they're not about training, or obedience, or ownership. They're about seeing the one who's loved you without condition, and loving them back in the language they've always understood. One quiet act at a time. If this video reminded you of someone with paws and a heartbeat who changed your life, don't forget to subscribe, so we can keep walking this road together, slow, honest, and full of soft footprints that never fade.